Hello everybody, I'm Rene Ramos, director of the Lynn and Louis Wolfson II Florida Moving Image Archives, and this is Rewind, the show that looks back on Florida's past with historic film and video. It's time for another trip back into the past, so sit back, relax, and enjoy another episode of Rewind.
For Coral Gables, the flapper at 40, life has just begun. On April 29, 1965, the city turned 40, and her citizens celebrated with all the favors, including a 40-foot birthday cake. Coral Gables has developed an appearance that is preserved by rigid zoning laws and a citizenry determined to keep things as they are. Yet the city beautiful, as Coral Gables calls herself, continues to grow and change. Occupies over 7,000 acres, mostly residential, southwest of Miami. The story must begin at the Merrick Homestead. It was built in 1906 from native coral rock by the area's first settler, the Reverend Solomon Merrick. It was the Reverend Merrick's son, George, who wanted a community of fine homes in the subtropical beauty of South Florida. Merrick Manor possesses a magnificent gabled tile roof, the hallmark of the city which it inspired. Coral Gables is a product of the Roaring '20s, that heady era between two world wars and a depression remembered as the Jazz Age. This was the time of the flapper, bathtub gin, and runaway prosperity, when real estate spiraled to the music of Rudy Valley. Coral was in the firm grip of the Jazz Age when the city was officially chartered in 1925. A good way to see Coral Gables is to follow the famous self-guided tour of the city's more than 100 points of interest. George Merrick had become fascinated with the Mediterranean Riviera. He sent artists to study the local architecture, and they returned to create a design part Italian, part French, and part Spanish in inspiration, but uniquely Coral Gables. To create a Venetian atmosphere, early developers dug the famed Coral Gables Deep Waterway. Its banks are lined with some of the city's most palatial estates. During the land boom of the 20s, Coral Gables was ballyhooed as the $100 million development, Miami's master suburb. Lots were sold by an army of 3,000 high-pressure salesmen called binder boys. They got their name from the binders, or land purchase agreements, they pressed on prospective buyers. The binder boys sold as much as $100,000 of real estate in a single day. George Merrick used to give his binder boys a periodic pep talk that went like this. Remember that what you're selling out here is not just land. What you're really selling is romance. The stars and the moon, the tropics, the wind off blue water, and the perfume of flowers that never grew in a northern clime. Despite Merrick's insistence on harmonious architecture, he permitted this colorful Chinese village to be built. No gimmick was left untried in promoting the Riviera of the American tropics, as Coral Gables was sometimes called. Other distinctive villages were built, including this French-style chateau. But despite these novelty villages, the overall Mediterranean harmony is complete, even down to the Spanish street names that ring through the city like a romantic Latin melody. This was the Biltmore Hotel. In 1925, it was the last word in the evolution of civilization. Its 26 stories are topped with a replica of the famous bell tower that crowns the Giralda Cathedral of Seville. One's outstanding impressions as an advertisement of the time is that one has suddenly been transported to Spain of 2 centuries ago. Today, it's the most beautiful veterans hospital in the nation. The hotel had its own 18-hole golf course. It's now a public course. The City Hall, a multi-column structure topped with an Iberian tower and bronze belfry, was copied from an original in the Spanish city of Seville. The interior of the building is like a Moorish castle. On the wall above the center staircase is a mural, Landmarks of the 20s, and shows scenes and symbols of the city's youth. In the flapper days, the center of life was the Venetian Casino, frequently referred to as the world's most beautiful swimming hole. The pool set the stage for the most extravagant salesmanship the Binder boys could dream up. It was here, clad in a bathing suit and perched on a raft, that aging orator William Jennings Bryan extolled the virtues of Coral Gables, saying, "You can wake up in the morning and tell the biggest lie you can think of about the future of this city, and before you go to bed at night, you'll be ashamed of your modesty." Every city has at least one famous landmark. Coral Gables has several. The most photographed is the towering Romanesque De Soto fountain. George Merrick's uncle, Denman Fink, designed the fountain. He also built a series of entranceways to his nephew's so-called perfect city. Perhaps the most familiar is the Douglas entrance. But the most impressive is the Country Club Prato. The Prato entrance, with its massive vine-covered lattice work and fountain, is a familiar background for high-fashion photographers. And the city carefully maintains these unique landmarks. This is the Anastasia Building, designed originally as a hotel. It became the first building of the University of Miami. To their credit, the builders had included a university in the city's ambitious development plans. On October 15, 1926, the first class was enrolled, 560 students from 28 states. Today, the university is still growing rapidly. Modern buildings filled out its original 160-acre campus. There are more than 13,000 students now. New expansion plans call for $93 million in construction. This is Miracle Mile. It's not really a full mile, it's only 4 blocks long, nor is the graceful Boulevard a miracle. But it is a product of Coral Gables' prosperity. As the City Beautiful matures, her leaders realize that she cannot continue to grow and prosper merely as a fashionable suburban adjunct to the surrounding metropolitan area. Last year, a community development department was created to bring new business to Coral Gables. But this business must be clean and quiet. Important changes have already begun. The modernistic 7-story International Petroleum Building appeared. This structure and the new Gulf Building are examples of the kind of business image Coral Gables wants. The 12-story David William Apartment Hotel was the second high-rise structure to go up during 1965. Something else new. Motels are beginning to appear. Attention to luxurious extras like Matheson Hammock is a major ingredient in the success formula. The park covers 630 acres, about 20% of which are developed. Attractions include picnic areas, boat docks, and of course the bathing beach. Fairchild Gardens, another community asset which contributes to the image of Coral Gables, houses the largest collection of tropical plants in the United States. The War Memorial Youth Center, covering 6 acres, is probably the most elaborate and beautiful recreation complex in South Florida, serving more than 138,000 youngsters a year. The attention to youth suits the city's overall sense of direction. In the midst of a traditionally tourist-oriented community, Coral Gables stands out as being more interested in families. Promoting itself as a fine place to raise children, the city aims at augmenting its aging population with a steady infusion of young future executives. The entire spectrum of the arts, music, theater, and the dance flourish. This is Coral Gables High School, where students consistently attract more scholarship awards than any other school in Southeast Florida, and 85% go on to college. Coral Gables' old title, the New Riviera, might well apply here, where some of the nation's most luxurious homes are being built. This one was named the 1965 Pacesetter home by House Beautiful magazine. It cost $250,000. There are others ranging from modest to mansion. With a new birth of business activity and a new frontier of luxury homes, Coral Gables is destined to be the city of the future. The story of Coral Gables' growth in 40 years is not unique in Florida. What distinguishes her is the content, shape, and philosophy of that growth. It's dramatized when you think what might have happened to her good looks but didn't, and what has happened, unfortunately, to some other communities. Coral Gables has boldly met the challenge, providing guidelines that appeal to the community's economic and social conscience. With $19 million in new construction this past year, the highest since 1925, Coral Gables is securing her foundation for gracious living. For Coral Gables, the flapper at 40, life has just begun. These have been excerpts from the original hour-long color documentary Coral Gables Flapper at 40, produced by WCKT News, Miami.
There are very few places to live in this world where you can be on your yacht at 5:45 and aboard a non-stop jet to Paris at 6:45.
There are very few cities in the world where all this is located within 10 to 15 minutes of all this.
Of course, I'm talking about Coral Gables, Florida. Now, you may be wondering why I'm talking about Coral Gables when I'm walking down this street in Paris. Well, actually, there are a couple of reasons. Reason number one, Coral Gables, along with Paris and Honolulu, has been cited by the Harvard Business Review as one of 3 global cities of the future, and the only one located in the continental United States. Reason number 2, because Coral Gables now has a direct air link to Paris, and to London, and to Frankfurt, Amsterdam, and Madrid, because there is now direct daily air service between Miami International Airport, just 10 minutes from Coral Gables, and all of Europe, and to the great cities in Canada like Montreal and Toronto, and to all Latin American countries as well, between Coral Gables and Lima, Coral Gables and Mexico City, and Buenos Aires, and Rio de Janeiro, Quito, all of Latin America, as well as between Coral Gables and the great cities of the United States. Cities like New York and San Francisco, Boston and Dallas, Chicago and Los Angeles, Detroit, Minneapolis. My point is simply this. Precious few cities in the world are as uniquely qualified by reasons of location, international air transportation, and the quality of lifestyle to serve as the headquarters or branch office sites for multinational corporations as Coral Gables.
My family and I moved to Coral Gables when I was made Regional Managing Director for Pan American Airways. We all love it here. The lifestyle is magnificent. The main reason we moved here was because this is one of the most exciting areas in the world for someone in my profession. It's clear to me that the entire South Florida area is becoming one of the most influential areas in international trade and commerce in the world today.
This is due in large part to the unexcelled transportation facilities here. The area today is one of the most accessible in the world, with superior transportation facilities of every type. With Pan Am's regular flights from Miami to the great capitals of Europe and Latin America, we see the South Florida area as the key to 3 continents and as the commercial and cultural nerve center that links Europe and Latin America to the United States in a triangle of great new trade routes. That's why so many multinational corporations have already moved to Coral Gables, and why so many are considering a move now. There is no doubt that Coral Gables offers unique advantages as a site for international headquarters and branch offices. Look who's already in Coral Gables.
Many people have asked me why we don't have our Latin American headquarters in Latin America. The answer is quite simple. It's much more efficient to have them right here in Coral Gables. Take a little thing like phone communications. It is much easier to call most places in Latin America from Coral Gables than it is to call from city to city within Latin America. And air transportation, well, you can probably get more direct flights to Latin American cities from Miami International Airport than you can from most cities in Latin America itself, and in many cases faster and cheaper. When you come right down to it, Miami is as much a Latin American city as it is a U.S. city. It offers the best of both worlds.
One of the key reasons for moving our Latin American office to Coral Gables is the vast supply of bilingual talent that is available here. I don't just mean secretarial skills or office personnel. I'm talking about bilingual capabilities at the highest levels of executive leadership. And then, of course, the entire area is so attractive. Such a wonderful place to live and work that it attracts and holds the people we want like a magnet.
The maturing of the University of Miami has no doubt played a large role in making this area an international center for trade and commerce. The University of Miami is located in Coral Gables, but we have 700 foreign students from 74 countries. I wonder how many other universities can boast of so international a student body.
When I graduated from the University of Miami in 1964, Miami-Dade Community College was only 4 years old. Since that time, the college has grown to become the largest two-year community college in the world. We have, for an example, more foreign students than any college or university in the United States. What's particularly nice for me is that I'm able to drive to the campus in just 15 minutes from my home in Coral Gables.
I've spent a lot of time in most of the world's great cities: Paris, New York, London, Buenos Aires. As far as I'm concerned, there's no better place in the world to live and raise a family than right here, Coral Gables.
The entire community has an international flavor. The Miami Free Zone, with its unique tax, customs, and duty-free advantages, is certain to be a big factor over the next 20 years.
The nearby convention facilities, the great array of restaurants and shops, the recreational attractions originally designed to attract tourism have become tremendous assets to the area in attracting international business.
One cannot overlook the importance of international shipping in the South Florida area. With its location, climate, and outstanding port facilities, South Florida is perfectly positioned for leadership in international shipping.
All you have to do is look around, and you can see the impact that international finance is having in the area. These names are already here, and of course, more are on the way.
The community leadership here is sophisticated. The Chamber of Commerce is one of the strongest in America. The Committee of 21 is comprised of executives with an international outlook. How many communities of about 40,000 people number among their residents dozens of top executives from the world's leading multinational corporations? That's why we call Coral Gables the global city of the future.
Coral Gables is the global city of the future.
Coral Gables est la ville internationale de demain. Coral Gables é a cidade global do futuro.
Coral Gables es la ciudad global del futuro. Coral Gables ist die Stadt der Zukunft.
Coral
Coral Gables is the global city of the future.
You know, the thing I like about Coral Gables best is that it's a great climate for international business to grow. It's great for my children, too, to grow up in this area. Well, we've got all the arts here, the theater, dancing. My daughter's into dancing. And sports, my son, he loves professional football. We go to the games quite regularly, and he's into soccer. The theater is great here. My wife and I go to the theater quite regularly. And if you want to go deep-sea fishing, for example, you can go out into the ocean. We're within minutes. It's not that far away. We just love it here. All of us, really. It's a great place to live. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else.
That's about it for this edition of Rewind. Just time to remind you that Rewind features historical film and video from the Lynn and Lewis Wolfson II Florida Moving Image Archives. To see more from the Wolfson Archives collections, visit our website, wolfsonarchives.org. You can search the archives catalog and watch video online. And be sure to connect to our YouTube channel, where you will find hundreds of carefully curated clips, or link to the Wolfson Archives Facebook page to keep up with our busy calendar of historical happenings. Until next time, I'm Rene Ramos. Thanks for watching.